Hi there, it's Beauty Junkie. Welcome to my channel. Today I am getting into the new Goss complexion products. He came out with brand new cream foundation, translucent powder, and a beauty puff. I got the shade 10 in the luxury cream foundation. I got the powder and I got 2 puffs. So I'm excited to try this out with you guys today for the first time. Unfortunately, the 4 lightest shades at the time of filming are already sold out. I have shade number 10. It's one of the light ones, but there are 12 shades in his collection, so some of the medium to dark shades are still available right now. You can always come back to this video when you're ready. If you want to check out shade 10, I'm going to be doing swatches. I'm going to try it out on my face. I'm going to apply it with the puff. So let's get into it. Details about this collection. If you know Goss, he has done so many videos about foundation over the years, and he has always talked about his favorite foundation formula is cream. So I'm really not surprised that he came out with a cream formula. I do have to admit, I have never purchased a cream foundation before. I've used cream foundation samples. One that comes to mind that I've used recently is from Danessa Myricks, but that one was really creamy. This one feels different. So it's going to be an experiment all around. Stay tuned for follow-up videos using this foundation, because that will probably be a more well-informed, realistic review on this foundation, because this is a whole new format for me. Also applying with a puff, very different. Okay, so details of the collection. Of course, the luxury cream foundation. This is the box packaging. You get 28.3 grams, 1 ounce, which is the same amount you usually get for a liquid foundation. So this is a lot of product, I'm thinking, because you probably don't need a lot to cover your face. You said this is like 30% pigment or something like that. So a lot of product in here. You guys can see through the packaging. You can see how much product is in here. The weightless translucent powder. This is 0.88 ounces. It's almost an ounce, 0.25 grams. This is a true white translucent formula. I don't know if it's actually translucent till it's on the skin, but this is what it looks like. The puff, the poof, comes in this plastic wrapper. I did get 2 at Wayne Goss's suggestion, one for the foundation, one for the powder. So this is made with velvet, microfiber, and silicone, and each package comes with 1 puff. I have to say, this is a pretty heavy puff. It's very soft. You know, sometimes makeup comes with these kinds of things, but this one feels a little bit special. Pricing: powder, just referring to the website, powder is $28. I bought these myself, but I never remember what I paid for things. I got the set. You can buy everything individually, or you can get the set for $76. I don't think there's really a discount if you get a set, so it doesn't really matter. So the weightless powder is $28. I think this is a pretty good value if it's a good product. For how much powder you get, $28 is pretty good. Most setting powders are not an ounce, and a lot of the high-end ones are a lot of money. I think the best value I know of is the Laura Mercier one. You get a huge amount of product, but this might be a good value if it's good. The foundation is $38, which honestly I was surprised by hearing this price compared to other Wayne Goss products. So I expected the foundation to be at least $50. So I am excited that this is actually more in the mid-range of foundations. Yeah, if you look at his blush palettes, actually those are more. Those are $45. The blush palettes are more than this. They come with a blush and highlighter. The bronzers, the same, $45. The eye palettes, they're $55. So I mean, it's not too far off from the rest of his makeup collection, but I don't know, a little bit surprised. Let's talk, and then the cost of the poof. I think this is, I don't know how much these cost to make, but these sell individually for $10 a piece. Hopefully they're good, right? I don't spend that much on my makeups, on my foundation sponges, so we'll see. I mean, because I haven't used creams, I was a little afraid on how to apply this, so I bought two. Packaging, I know not everyone cares about packaging, but these are not, you know, these aren't the cheapest products, so sometimes we like a little bit something else with the packaging. I have to say, I think these are okay packaging for foundation complexion products. I thought they might be like the darker, like, I didn't pay too much attention to like the product release and what these packages look like, but I thought maybe like the darker packaging would show up on the foundation to go with his blush and eyeshadow palettes. Like that deep shiny color, dark brown color would be with the foundations, but he went with the silver shiny top. Totally fine. I mean, it even though it says luxury cream foundation, I wouldn't say this packaging is that luxury. Just gonna be honest, it's plastic, it's not glass, it's not super heavy, but I will say I understand having a foundation that's just normal looking, because this kind of product gets dirty. You have, you know, you get foundation all over it, you get powder all over this. Like, do you really want a fancy bottle that you're just gonna mess up with makeup? To me, it's not like an eyeshadow palette that you're just trying to keep pristine. So I get it. It just, I think it probably decreases the price if the packaging isn't quite as fancy. You know, this is pretty large. Most setting powders are pretty large, but this is not too heavy. I'd say the heaviest thing is the puff. It's a thick one. Powder, if you guys are curious what's in it, has mica, calcium carbonate, aluminum starch, rice starch. I don't know what the other things are. No talc. The cream foundation. Ooh, this is harder to read. I don't know what's in here. I can't really read it. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna throw up my swatch on my arm, shade 10. I think it's a pretty good match. It's not perfect, maybe a little bit dark, but I knew that going into getting the shade. I probably could go one step lighter, so shade 11, but it looked really white. So I went with this shade. I thought it would be safe, but I probably could have mixed this and shade 10 and shade 11. So just so you guys know the numbering system, the darkest shade is number 1, the lightest shade is number 12, so I'm at 10. So you guys know the spectrum. But I'll go ahead and put up the swatch. Hopefully you find that helpful. If you feel like you have a skin tone close to me, I think I have a cooler undertone, pretty light skin tone. I'm not the fairest, but I'm pretty close. I definitely lean toward more of a pink leaning foundation. So that's why I picked shade 10, and I think I gave a good guess. So anyway, I purchased everything. I got $20 off because I participated in the Beautylish gift card event, so that was pretty nice. I hadn't spent it yet, so didn't know Wayne Goss coming out foundation, so I was like, okay, I'll just take some money off the set here. So I'm just going to use the primer I normally use, but this is going to be an interesting video because this is a cream foundation and that's very foreign to me. So I'm going to use my Victoria Beckham by Augustinus Better Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer in Original. And I'm using 2 pumps. I've been wearing my skincare all day. It is the end of the day. I just got this package at 5 p.m. So, and I want to get this video out because I want to get out reviews as quickly as possible, but this will not be a fully thought out review because this is the first time I am trying. So I'm gonna watch the video and let you know how this is supposed to be used. So the puff, there's 2 sides. The smoothest side is what he suggests to use to apply the cream. The more velvet or velour side, I think is what he calls it, or something like that. It's a looser feel, so it moves around more, that's the side for powder, he says. So when you feel it, you probably can't see much of a difference. But when you get it, you will feel the difference. This one moves around more, that's for powder, a little softer. This one is more tight and smoother, so this is for the foundation. And you can move this little band to either side, and you can kind of put your fingers in here like that. That's the idea there. But he suggests to start with a small amount, put it on, and then you could just kind of drag it across. And he did talk about the shade range, and I haven't addressed it yet, so let's talk about the shade range. 12 shades, not a lot. Most foundations that come out now, it's taboo to only have 12 shades just because there's so many more shades in existence. He said he doesn't have enough money to create more shades at this point. If the product does well, he will expand the range. Hopefully that happens. I think it's, even on the light side of things, there's not a lot of options. So interesting the way he did it. But I guess he's the only one putting money into this. I don't know. Anyways, that's the story behind the limited shade range, is that he didn't have enough money to create more. So that's that. All right, let's get into applying this freaking foundation. So talking about feel first, I don't know how to describe how this feels. It's not waxy, but it's kind of wet, but dry at the same time. I don't know how to describe a cream, but it doesn't feel like a cream. It just feels like a solid, slippery texture. It doesn't feel bad though. So let's just put it on. I'm gonna, I don't know, dab in here. This feels strange. This is how much I'm gonna put on. And he says, you know, start doing this, and then you drag it to blend like this. He says this is supposed to be smoother than a beauty blender or brush, like a smoother finish if you use the poof. Maybe that's why I bought it. I'm gonna use my mirror here. Ooh, that is a lot of coverage pigment with not a lot of product. He's totally right. You do not need a lot. My forehead is covered. Okay. Ooh. I have a feeling I'm going to have to play with this to get this to look good on my skin. Wow. Okay, this might be a really, this looks lighter on the skin than the swatch. I don't know. Okay. I'm just trying to spread this around as much as I can before dipping in again, because I don't want to, you know, overdo it. So I'm kind of doing a light coat with whatever is on here, okay? This looks interesting. I don't know that this is going to be my favorite. I'm gonna reserve my judgment till the end, and I'll just put it on, okay? I'm gonna put some more on. Okay, we have more on this side. And I'm gonna just try to concentrate from here down. I'm not sure like how hard I'm supposed to push this in, you know? So am I just kind of sweeping over the skin? Am I putting a lot of pressure? Little bit of pressure? Do I want to go in a certain direction, or I want to go down? So how this is looking on my skin is how foundations usually look when I apply them with a brush. They just the foundation just kind of collects in my pores, like almost like a mineral sunscreen. You just get this like deposit of makeup in each pore. That is what it's looking like. Okay. maybe this is for, I can't imagine this is for oily skin. Like, I think it's for any skin type. Oily skin might need more touch-ups, but if you're really dry, how does cream foundation supposed to look? Because it's like in every pore of mine. Wow. Okay, maybe I'll just put on a little bit more, see what happens. Can I continue to use this puff? See, it looks good when it's like that. It's just sitting on top of the skin. It's not like too matte looking. Maybe I just need another layer. I want my skin to look a little bit more smooth, and I don't know that my skin is quite prepped for this kind of a foundation, and that it needs to be a lot more maybe exfoliated. Maybe I need a peel, maybe I need more moisture before I put this on, because I'm having a hard time making this look good with this poof. Maybe the poof isn't the thing to blend it out. Maybe it's just kind of apply it and then maybe use something else. It's not a bad color, maybe slightly pale for my skin, but pretty good match probably. I'm going to try a damp beauty blender, Real Techniques, to maybe just finish out the blending a little bit. Try to make it look less makeup-y, less pore filled with makeup. So I will be back. Let's get into the powder, because I don't think I can do any more blending at this point. Okay, so I'm going to use the other side of the poof, even though I got two poofs, one for powder, one for foundation. Let's just use the other side, yeah? So this is the kind of thing that it has a little openings. The product comes out, little squares. So I'm just gonna dump some of this in there. This is very white. I think he said you want to use a very little amount, because if you use too much, you are gonna look lighter. It's gonna make your skin look whiter. So I think it's a little bit hard to use a little bit with this poof. So I'm gonna try to tap some of this excess off, yeah, and then go in. Now, if a powder is really light, it's a little bit harder to tell on my skin because my skin's fair. It's not much of an issue for me usually, but unless it's like really thick, you know, white powder. He actually suggests you load up one of these with powder, put it in a bag, and take it with you. So you can powder on the go, which is pretty smart. As long as you have a clean one ready to go. All right. Powder looks good. It definitely mattifies things a bit. So a little bit of makeup comes off when I was using this with the powder. So some of the makeup got removed. But I'm not like a super light hand kind of person. All right, that's the powder. And that's pretty much it. That's it for the application of this cream foundation and weightless powder. I'm gonna take some photos. I'll show you those. You guys can see close up what this does to my skin, and I'll wrap up my first impression thoughts. So you'll notice in those close-up pictures versus the close-up video that my skin, I'm sure, looks a lot better in the photo. than in the actual close-up video right in front of the window. I think you can kind of see the imperfections that are left behind with this foundation, and my skin just looks a little bit textured in real life, up close and personal. So yeah, let's get into my final thoughts. Not final, first impression thoughts, I'll say that. I think overall, it's a nice foundation. It's not horrible, but for me personally, my experience with this first time, applying it with this poof, I do not get a smoother result than I do with I don't get that smoother result. I've seen other foundations in my collection where I use a damp sponge and things look better. I did not apply this with this yet, so I cannot tell you if I'm gonna like the foundation better if I use this. Of course, I think I applied a lot of product, but my skin was not looking great with just one layer, so I went in with another. It looked a little bit better, things more filled in, pores more filled in, but there's a lot of areas where you really notice the makeup. Okay, you notice the foundation attaching to certain areas of my skin more than others. That to me, I don't like it when my skin looks like there's something off about it, and it just looks way more obvious that my skin is textured. I mean, I don't have a perfectly exfoliated face. I think I do have a lot of dry areas, and maybe I just need to exfoliate more, although I don't think that's that great for my skin just to get a smooth foundation finish. Don't really want to do that. But I will try other things to get this foundation to work. Try a different skincare routine. Make sure my moisturizer maybe is a little bit more wet before I apply this, and then use the primer, but the primer by itself on top of like soaked in skincare that I've been wearing all day, I think my skin just doesn't look as good as it could be. And then the poof, I'm not sure it's gonna work for me. I think it was fine for the powder to use something like this. Makes a lot of sense. Let's actually see if this poof will rest in the powder. No, too big. Well, maybe. You could get it to work. It's a little bit large, so stuff it in here. But I do think the powder seems fine. You know, I didn't go in like a big poofy brush and just kind of go everywhere. That will be my next application method. Not that this is bad, it's just very different for me to use, and I don't know, just not my preferred kind of a method. This lasts 24 months, so that's a long time for foundation. And so does the powder. These both last 2 years, and I think these will probably last me that long, even if I were to use these regularly, because I have to say, if my skin was just naturally smoother, not as many dry patches maybe, I don't know. I mean, I have combo skin, but still, like, I have, I guess, texture. I think this foundation would be fine if I, had better face. Or it would look, smoother maybe if my skin was different, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not like the youngest, but I'm also not the oldest. So I don't know. Creams are new to me. As I said, this is something I'm gonna have to get used to and play with. Okay, guys, I just tried this foundation the following day, and I'm inserting it into my first impressions video because I want to give you guys an update. I tried using the Luxury Cream Foundation in a different way, and I 100% like the results so far. Now, I haven't done a whole day wear test. I actually just put it on, but as you guys saw, I didn't love the results. when I used it the first time, but the second time I'm liking the results so much more. So I thought it was important to stick this in here. I'm glad I didn't post the video already because I felt like my first impressions wasn't really fair to the foundation. So I want to give you some updates on what I did this time versus the first time. Very important thing that I did this time is I put on my skincare right before applying the foundation, and I think that was probably the number one thing that made this foundation look better. So I washed my face a few hours ago. I didn't put anything on top of it, did some work, and then I put on my skincare. So I put on a refreshing mist, my eye cream, a couple of hydrating serums, my vitamin C serum, and I put on a pretty heavy moisturizer. I'll show you which moisturizer it is. Okay, so I put on the Jordan Samuel Moisture Recovery Cream. This is a thicker lotion. Okay, it says like CeraVe in a tub. You know, very, very moisturizing. I put that on as my last step before primer. So I think that made a huge difference, to be honest. And then I used the same primer, this Victoria Beckham one, and then I went right into the foundation. Another thing I didn't do today, just because I thought, well, maybe it's my sunscreen that's kind of drying out my skin a little bit. Next time I'll try with sunscreen, you know, all my layers plus sunscreen. Today I skipped the sunscreen just to see, you know, maybe that made a difference. So my skin was very juiced up. So I really wanted to focus on skin prep this time, because last time my skincare was fully absorbed into the skin. My skin was actually not super dry, and then I just threw on the primer, which I thought would be enough. I think this primer, even though it's very expensive, it doesn't juice up my skin like my regular skincare routine does. It's not going to replace all those products. Even though I already applied them during the day, after a few hours go by, like, it's just, your skin isn't as juiced up anymore. So that's what happened. I also applied sunscreen yesterday. So I don't think my skin was ready, and when I put the product on with this poof, it did not go so well. But today I didn't use the poof. I actually washed it, but I used, sorry, this is the washed one. I mostly got all of it out. It's still a little bit damp. It takes a while to dry, but it gets pretty clean. This I didn't have much luck with. I felt like it just made my skin look more textured. But today I used the damp Real Technique sponge to apply this, and that's all I used. I didn't use the poof at all. So I made sure it was good and damp, went in here a couple times, and then just spread it all over the face. I actually did more of a dragging motion with this foundation rather than bouncing as much. I kind of bounced at the end, but to kind of apply the product, I did more of a spreading motion, and it looks so much better, so much smoother. The foundation's like laying much nicer on top of my skin rather than just settling into my pores and it kind of looking not so great. So this time it looks way better, way better. But yeah, I'm super happy. And then I didn't apply any concealer. I used the smaller sponge here to use this just under the eyes. I don't know that this really is a concealer replacement, just because it's not the right texture for me. It's not concealing enough as a spot treatment. So and then I applied the powder with the poof. I used a different poof and just tapped it on. So before I powdered, it was much glowier. I think the powder is definitely necessary, especially I'm gonna wear this all day. Definitely gotta set, and I probably will need to retouch with the powder, because when my skin's juiced up and you put the cream on top, there's a lot of sheen going on. So very different experience today. I'm much happier. Now I don't know how it's gonna wear yet. I know yesterday after wearing it a few hours, My skin looked a little bit heavy with makeup, and I mean, I wasn't loving it to begin with, and then after several hours, I mean, it gave a lot of coverage, so my skin looked, you know, overall just more evened out skin tone, but it looked very, not cakey, but makeup-y, like I had almost a mask on. This today looks a lot more natural in how my foundation normally looks. It looks way less makeup-y. So texture with foundation is a huge thing for me. And if it's not smooth, I'm not happy. But today it's much smoother. Again, with the sponge for the win. Now, if you're a makeup artist or you just know how to use these type of products with creams, let me know what I'm doing wrong. I mean, maybe it's just skin prep that I needed to change. But I didn't want to use this again because I felt like I was going to have a similar problem. And I was worried like this was going to remove my skincare that kind of helps the finish out. I think having that moisture layer just kind of makes things lay down better for me. And I was worried this was just going to take that off. So anyways, if you guys have any tips for me on how I can best apply creams, let me know. But I just wanted to throw this in because I had a much better experience the second day, but you know, not using the tools that he recommends. So I think that happens probably a lot with makeup, where you like buy the whole like foundation, concealer, powder set, you buy the brushes, you use all that stuff, and it just doesn't look right or just doesn't work for you. Sometimes you have to change things up and adjust just for your skin. You know, it's not ideal that you have to do that, but sometimes what they recommend isn't really the best for everyone. So that's my experience with this foundation. I will have to, again, give you more updated thoughts in the future to talk about wear time and, you know, what it looks like at the end of the day, you know, because that can have a huge influence on whether or not I want to keep wearing a foundation. All right, so that is kind of my final thoughts. I definitely recommend this foundation more if you want to try a different texture. This is a cream foundation. I think this is going to last me forever. Like, if you want bang for your buck, a good amount of coverage, I actually was able to apply this really quickly with the sponge. Like, I can get so much coverage so fast. I can see why he likes it. It's just, it has a really natural looking finish, and I would say make sure your skin is prepped though. I have combo skin, it's not super dry. I think if you are really dry, you're gonna want to probably do even more of the juicing up skincare steps before you put this on. And be wary that this may not be the ideal application tool for you. I mean, I wish it was. It's kind of cool, but you know, not everything works the way you think it will. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I talked about this before. This is a lot of product for the money. So is the powder. I don't know how the powder is going to work on darker skin tones. The way it comes out, I used a poof again today. I'll probably use a brush just because I feel like I can control the amount that goes on my skin a little bit better than using a puff. But it's nice and lightweight. But yeah, I'll give you guys updated thoughts. Creams are interesting. That's all I have to say. Very interesting kind of product. I think if I have a lot of blemishes going on, this might be my go-to fuller coverage type of makeup. All right, guys, those are my final first impression thoughts after the second time. Let me know what you guys think of this complexion set that Wayne Goss has come out with. Are you planning to pick up any shades? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, click the thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.